Hi everyone, Tom here with Audio Imperia, and today we're going to be taking a look at Cerberus, epic and cinematic drums. Cerberus is a huge sounding ensemble library for modern and hybrid scoring. It's recorded on the same stage as Jaeger, Nucleus, Talos and Araya, so it integrates with those libraries very easily. Cerberus features multiple mic positions, as well as unprocessed and processed patches for the ensemble drums, a solo drum kit, some really cool sound design and drum loops, and it's also housed in the new Pyramid engine. Please see the user manual for more information on the Pyramid engine. Cerberus is now also available for the free Contact player, meaning that it will also show up in your library tab here. Let's take a quick look at the library structure. We have multiple patches, individual patches, loops, and sound design. Let's start off by taking a look at the multi-patches. So we have ensemble drums epic mixes and epic mixes stacked. We'll get to the difference of those in a second, as well as ensemble drums normal and stacked, and they're the normal mixes, not the epic mixes. And then we have the drum kit epic mixes and also the unprocessed drum kit. So I'm just going to play you what the epic mixes patch sounds like loaded up out of the box. So that's what the normal epic mixes patch sounds like. I'm going to show you the stacked option now. So for the stacked patches, we recorded triple the amount of round robins, so you could stack repetitions. If we go to the advanced panel, you'll see the stacking option. And here you can select the number of layers to stack, either 2 or 3. So you can play 1 layer, which means stacking is turned off, so it's just 1 layer of round robins, or we play 2 or 3 layers at the same time, or you can use the stacked patch, which gives you 3 layers of the round robins stacked at once. Within the regular patches that have the stacking feature, you can randomize the start of each layer with the randomize knob to get a more loose ensemble feel. And also you can broaden the stereo field using the stereoize feature. Doing this pans each one of the layers independently. Now all of those functions will take up more CPU, and so that's why we've created the stacked patches which use baked samples with the 3 layers sounding at the same time. So because of that, you can't control the number of stacking layers or randomize the start of each layer or to pan each layer independently for a broader stereo effect. And that's so that you save CPU. So that's why we've provided both options. Now let's quickly take a look at the different microphone positions. Let's take a look at the raw unprocessed patches. You'll notice that in these normal ensemble drums patches that are less processed and have these mixes, which are obviously mixed and processed to some degree, but we can choose the classic mix, which is just a collection of the mic positions, and then we can choose the individual mic positions. This gives you a lot more control if you want to mix it yourself and create a more custom mix for what you might need in a project. Let's take a listen to the classic mix and also the mic positions. And then we also have the individual mic positions, and I'm going to turn off the external reverb for this so that you can hear these very clearly. These individual mic positions can be routed to individual outputs if you're using the 8 or 16 out instance of Kontakt. If we go back to our Epic Mixes stacked patch and go to the advanced page, you'll notice that there are some things that you can adjust to your liking, like with every other Audio Imperia library that uses the Pyramid engine. If we turn the dynamic range down, you'll see that if you hit with a really hard velocity or a soft velocity, it won't make much of a difference. Whereas if we turn it all the way up, we're going to have the biggest dynamic range. We also have expression and dynamics. Dynamics will apply to things like sustained rolls, but not to individual hits like this. But that can be controlled with the mod wheel on your MIDI keyboard. And we can also adjust the sample starts here. Every Audio Imperia library that uses the Pyramid engine comes preloaded as -125 milliseconds by default. That's a nice middle ground between very playable and also realistic. Obviously 0 milliseconds is going to give you the best playability. However, you are going to lose realism because you're going to lose some of that information at the transient and before the transient. Whereas -250 milliseconds gives us the biggest amount of realism. However, it's going to be hard to play due to the sample delay. So having it around -125 is a really good middle ground. I'm just going to play you that same pattern that I've created, but with different sample start times to give you an idea of how it sounds. You might not notice it as much with percussion like this, but you will notice it in certain scenarios and especially with other instruments as well. Let's take a look at the drum kit in Cerberus. We'll start with the normal unprocessed kit. And again, you can see we have different microphone positions as well as different mixes. So let's just check them out really quickly. And now let's take a look at the epic mix. One thing to mention, which also applies to the ensemble drums, is that if we want a specific articulation, for example, let's say the kick hits, say I want it to be on D-1 and C#-1 rather than just on C, we can change that by going to the advanced page and clicking here and then selecting which key we want. So I can press this on my keyboard and it's now changed it to that. And we can always change it back if we want as well. Let's take a look at some of the loops provided in Cerberus. We have 2 variations of 3/4 as loose and tight, and 2 in 4/4 loose and tight playing styles. And then we also have 4 in 120 beats per minute. 2 of them are in 3/4 loose and tight playing styles, and then the same for 4/4. 2 versions of them, loose and tight playing styles. We'll take a look at both of them now. Let's compare that now to the tight version. Within these loops, you'll notice that they have different names. So this one, for example, is Hellfire. You have the full mix on the first key that says the name. And what follows that is 3 different stems from that loop. You could introduce one of the stems first and then another and gradually grow it that way, or have them on different tracks, or you can choose individual stems from different sounds and layer them together. It's also worth mentioning that we can adjust things like the stereo spread, the high pass filter and the low pass filter, pitch, volume, pan, attack and release, anything like that. And also we have this global function, this global setting here. If that's turned on, it's going to affect every single loop within this patch. Or we can turn that off and it will just affect the loop that we're selecting. Also, you might notice that there's this lock symbol here. If we click that, it will change the pitch shifting to musical intervals. We also have the effects page where you can apply different effects. And finally, we have the sound design folder for Cerberus, where you'll find a patch for atonal atmos, atonal sound effects, tonal atmos, and tonal hits. And there's something else you can do with these sound design patches as well. You can actually move the sample start to wherever you want in the sample. So for example, if we wanted this portion of the sound, we can just adjust the sample start point to be here. In these tonal patches, you can select the drop-down menu here and choose what sound you want. And the sound is mapped across the keyboard here so you can play whatever notes you want. So that's it for this Cerberus walkthrough video. We hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.